Hey, it's Aaron here. After working with many coaches around the world and content creators, I've come to realize one thing, and that thing is you don't have to be an expert in any given topic. You just have to be a few steps ahead than the other people. And that can lead you to an absurd amount of money. Now, let me quickly explain this. You've probably been held back in the past from selling what's in your mind because you feel like you don't have all the answers. Now, this is very natural, and sometimes it's something called imposter syndrome. You feel as if you're not qualified to teach that topic to someone, especially if they're paying you. That whole mindset kicks in of you starting to feel bad. But let me put it to you this way: as long as you're a few steps ahead of them, you've had a longer time on your journey, which means more experience. You've probably gone through more trials and tribulations, more challenges, you've overcome the hurdles. You can show the person that's maybe three or four, five, six steps behind you what not to do and what to do. And that's gold information to them. That is wisdom to them. Nobody's asking you to be a billion steps ahead, right? Very few people can actually do that and pull that off. But for the majority, people are just a few steps ahead. And every day they're getting one step ahead, one step ahead. And the people behind them that they're teaching are also getting ahead one step, one step. But your job is to stay ahead of the curve. Absorb as much information in your industry as you can so that you can teach others. That's all this is. Okay, so never feel like you need all the answers. That's certainly not the case. For example, when something breaks in my home and I can't fix it, I'm not very good at DIY. I have to hire somebody to do the DIY in my house. Why? I'm hiring them for their knowledge, for their skill set. Given if I probably had half a day or maybe even a few hours, I could probably fix whatever's broken. But I just don't want to commit that. So I'm happy to pay them and they're happy to come, attend, do their job and go. And that's exactly what you are. You're essentially just a DIY person, a handyman, a painter. You're just leveraging your skill set. Okay. Now, in theory, it sounds incredible. In practice, it's a bit more challenging, meaning there's obviously more hurdles to overcome. So you have something to offer in your mind, great. But then how do you package that thing up that you have in your mind and how do you offer it to the audience? Which way do you present it? Which avatar do you target? What kind of language do you use? What software do you use? How much are you pricing your services? There's all these other questions, but those questions will never pop into your mind if you do not start, right? If you do not start and you do not get rid of these limiting beliefs in your mind, you'll never come across these bridges. And these bridges are the ones that you need to cross. You need to come in contact with these bridges, right? Because what that means is progress, progress, progress. So don't feel like you need to be an expert. Certainly not the case. Just be a few steps ahead. I'll give you an example. I was once going back around 4 years, 5 years, just before the massive pandemic. I was enrolled into an Amazon FBA program where I was learning how to do it. And about half the way in, and it was a high ticket program, meaning five, $6,000 plus. When I got halfway through it, I thought, you know what? Given a few days, I probably would have learned all of this maybe off YouTube or something like that. But at that time, I couldn't be bothered. I wanted somebody to give me the answers there and then to package something up so I can just follow a step by step guide. Now, the program that I did enroll into did actually give me a step by step guide. They actually included softwares in it, and I actually went from zero, knowing nothing about FBA, to having products in Amazon's warehouses here in UK and around Europe, and having sales. So that's the point that I want to make to you. Be a few steps ahead. Be a few steps ahead in knowledge, in the softwares, in how to overcome hurdles, in strategy. Be a few steps ahead, and people will pay you for it. Don't worry about the clients. The clients will come as long as what you offer is genuinely valuable. What ruins this industry is people that haven't trodden the path, that haven't actually walked on that path, and they start to sell what's in their minds. They start to sell their knowledge. That's where the scams come in because somebody's trying to teach you something that they haven't actually achieved themselves. And I always give this example of I went to university and I studied international business management. It wasn't until a few years later that I thought, I wonder, these people that were teaching me about business and how to run successful multi-billion pound businesses, did any one of them actually have a business? And the answer is no. I know the penny didn't drop at the time, which is a bit silly, but I was immersed in that world. It was only when I reflected when I was a bit older and I thought, you know what, how on earth can you teach me about running a business, managing a supply chain, managing HR, managing sales when you've never done it yourself? It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's what the equivalent of what scammers do in our industry, right? So form a game plan, look at what your specialism is in, what are you knowledgeable in, and figure out how you can be a few steps ahead of everyone, and then figure out how you can target the people that are a few steps behind. Now it's starting to come together. If you start targeting people that are super duper advanced, it's just not going to work because they're already ahead of their journey, and what you're saying to them, what you're offering them, is just not applicable. Whereas if you start talking to the people that are behind a few steps and you start to mention some of these things, in these people's minds, those hurdles that you're talking about, they're already on the horizon. These people have probably thought about them. They're trying to probably overcome them as we speak. So you speaking to them at that moment in time where they're in need, that's where your sales come in. That's where you can make an absurd amount of money.